Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of the syndicated talk show, People of Distinction. The talk that gives you an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, alcoleenterprises.com for more info. Email me through benji@alcoleenterprises.com if you'd like to get involved with what we have going. And as always, please continue to like and follow our broadcasts. People of Distinction is internationally syndicated solely due to the love and support that you all continue to give. We're available across all major distributors, and as long as you keep following, we're going to continue to put out the content. Now sit back and strap in, because on the line with us today, we have the impressive Captain Dawn Ottman. And we're going to be discussing her incredible book, Unwelcome: Sexual Harassment, Sexual Discrimination, Sexual Assault, and Rape in the Canadian Forces. It's Amazon, it's Barnes & Noble, it's a lot of other places, man, but a one-stop shop for it all. That's her personal website, CaptainDawnOttman.com. There, gather more information on her, on this incredible book, and so much more. Again, that's CaptainDawnOttman.com. And I quickly want to take this opportunity and point out the fact that Captain Dawn was brought to us by Citi of Books. So for my writers out there listening in who have gone through their process and now you need some assistance moving the book you just created. Well, head on over to citiofbooks.com and gather all of the ways that their fantastic team is more than equipped to help you do just that. And listen, it is an absolute pleasure to have Captain Dawn here on the line. You see the title. All right? We're not beating around the bush. You know what we're discussing here today. We're only going to scratch the surface, and trust and believe by the time we've concluded, you're going to need to pick up the book to fill in the gaps, and you're going to want to have conversations with those around you as well. Let's get it started. Captain Dawn, welcome to the network, and thank you very much for being with us. How are you today?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
I'm great. I have my health. My family is good. And it's a pleasure to have you here. Your book, like I said, it's deeply personal to you, but I think is going to be immensely beneficial to all your readers that pick it up. We're delighted to have you here with us to speak about it. Let's start off at the foundation. Just tell us a little bit more about your book, and let's jump into a brief synopsis, please.
I want to start off by telling you a little bit about me. I was born and raised in Toronto, Canada, and I joined the military in the 70s. My 20-year military career spends time that I spent in the ranks, at a military college, and then in the officer corps. After my military career, I then spent 5 years as a satellite engineer at Motorola. I am married, and I have 2 children. I have a daughter who lives up near Boston, and I have a son that lives in Saskatchewan, in Canada. Unwelcome is a memoir that chronicles my journey in the Canadian Forces. It's where my deep sense of duty collided with a culture marked by systematic harassment, discrimination, and institutional silence. As a teenager, I entered the military with determination and a belief in service. However, I quickly discovered that the reality within the ranks is far from what I expected. As a woman in a male-dominated environment, I faced repeated incidences of harassment, intimidation, and exclusion. Experiences that were often dismissed or minimized by those in positions of authority. As my career progressed, the challenges intensified, and reporting misconduct proved difficult in a system where accountability is inconsistent and speaking out carries both professional and personal consequences. I was forced to navigate an environment where silence and endurance was necessary. My experience spans multiple levels of the military, from the enlisted service to the officer rank, as well as formal training at Canada's Royal Military College. It reveals, though, a pattern of institutional behavior that extends through all layers of the system. What became clear is that the issue is not confined to one group or one rank, but is deeply embedded within the structure itself. Despite these obstacles, I continue to rise through the ranks due to my strength of will and deep commitment to the military. And I did this while confronting the emotional and psychological toll of horrific experiences. Along the way, I encountered both resistance and moments of clarity that exposed deeper systematic failures. Unwelcome goes beyond a personal story. It reveals patterns of behavior that affect not just one individual, but many others within institutional environments. Through candid reflection and lived experience, my memoir sheds light on the cost of silence and the urgent need for accountability and change.
Captain Dawn, when we were doing our research and preparation, and we came across this phrase in the blurb of your book, right? When the military police told you, no one will ever take your word over an officer's. And that just stuck out and really stuck because I want to hear it from you, because I think it's easy to assume that maybe this is where the realization of this abuse came in, but I don't know if that's fair to say. So let's go there now. Okay. This being something you've worked so tirelessly to be a part of in terms of the Canadian military, and then to hear that, what did that do to you? And was that the moment that the institution broke its promise to protect you?
It was one of the moments. I continued on from there. I didn't give up, but a warrant officer assaulted me, and I thought the best thing to do was to go to the military police. So I went to the military police and I reported what had happened. When I mentioned the warrant officer's name to the sergeant that I was talking to, they had brought me in and put me in a room and taken my statement. Suddenly the sergeant, military police officer, put down his pen and he stopped writing. And he said, "Do you know who you're accusing here? This guy has 12 years of very solid military service. How many years in the military do you have?" And I answered his question and I said, 7 years. And I said, "Well, who do you think they're going to believe? Who do you think they're going to believe?" And so I left the military police station very, I don't know what you call it, in another world. I didn't believe what had just happened to me. I went back to work, and the very next morning, there was suddenly a meeting called where the whole troop was in there. Well, the officer in charge of the troop gave a meeting about loyalty to the troop, loyalty to the military, loyalty to, I guess, an institution which just does not recognize and would not want to deal with anything that was unforeseen. And he stared at me throughout the whole meeting, and he was giving me a dirty look. And everybody in the troop knew that it was me that he was talking about. He said, "If you have a problem within the troop, it stays within the troop. You don't go outside. You don't go to the military police." After that, no one spoke to me. It was very difficult. So I reached past that. And from that troop, I ended up going and applying to become an officer. I figured if no one accepts my story or my truth at that level, then maybe if I was more of a senior officer, I had met a lot of officers in the military, some good, some bad, and I knew that I could be a better officer than the bad officers.
People, you got to head on over to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, CaptainDawnOttman.com. Pick up copies of Unwelcome today, because this is one, man, like, it's her story, but it's much larger than that. Like, I'm making connections that speak to a much broader issue of acceptance. But again, it's obviously a lot deeper than that. But when you read in between the lines, it carries so much weight. There's so much benefit to the words found there. I want to now, you started to talk about how you were treated once you went to the military police and you spoke of these things, and you were charged with mutiny for telling the truth. I want to know now, because I'm sure that title at the time it was placed on you and the overall effect that it had was one thing. Years later now, after writing this book, looking back on your journey, how did that label, like, how did you carry that label then? And what does the word mutiny mean to you now?
Oh, it's a very old word that you would expect to be happening in the days of the pirates and that sort of thing. But it caught me by surprise. It seriously did. And I didn't really know what to do. So I reached out to people that had known me. An old commanding officer, I call him G.I. Joe. I reached out to him and he knew me. I've been working for him for about 4 years, and he knew me through my superiors. He knew what type of officer I was. I was able to reach out to him, and he went back to the major and spoke with the major and told the major that he better have a lot of proof of this before he moved forward with it. So then the major dropped it.
Captain Dawn, I'm curious, like, memoirs cause a lot of reflection. Now, I want to know, when you were writing this book and comprising it, why didn't it stay on a personal shelf? Like, why did you feel compelled to put it out for the public. I'm assuming you must have known there would be benefit there, but talk to us about that process for yourself.
Well, I went to a Veterans Transition Network, which is a week-long thing to help veterans deal with trauma. And they were finding that veteran suicide was very high, and so the military and the Veterans Affairs of Canada wanted to be able to do something to help veterans. And so I went to one of those programs, and I was able to learn from that program that I wasn't alone. I actually learned about a young corporal that, by this time I was a captain, but a young corporal that had been in Afghanistan and she had been raped. She had gone to her commanding officer and told him about the rape. And her reward for having spoken up was to be sent back to Canada out of cycle, not with a troop, but alone. She was returned to Canada. And she was returned with a letter that said that she was unfit for military service. Luckily, the person that was receiving the letter was a friend of mine and knew about me. And so she asked me, she said, how do I approach her? What do I do? And that sort of thing. So that was part of my motivation of doing this. I had to bring this whole situation to light. Veterans Affairs in Canada had just approved my application for benefits. But I heard the news from an unexpected phone call from the Ottawa branch of the Canadian Legion. I was really surprised. They were calling to ask me if they could use my approved application as a reference for other cases where they're helping women veterans that were dealing with sexual misconduct. You see, the Veterans Affairs never before in the history of Canada had ever approved a case like mine. I was actually provided benefits for, quote, PTSD induced by sexual misconduct during my military career, end quote. It was precedent setting. So this is why the Legion wanted to use my case as an example for helping others. And I knew, and they warned me, that if they do use it, it will become a piece of public knowledge. At that moment, I decided to tell my story myself in the hope that I would get the word out to other women veterans and to the general public.
Captain Dawn, thank you very much for the bravery and the courage that you showed by doing that, right? But obviously you don't need praise. I mentioned it before, you're the perfect embodiment of a person of distinction, and your story is going to help so many people. The clear audience here is obviously people that are victims of abuse. And here's the thing, abuse in so many variations, and this is why your book is so important. It's specific to you and, of course, to women in the military force. But when we strip away everything, right? Like strip away the uniforms, the ranks, and you're left with something that is so simple. Like the book is about a woman who wanted to belong in a system that refused her. But your story is so emblematic of so many others, right? Because really human nature, humans, we need to be seen. We want to be believed. We want to belong. And because that was not something that was offered to you, and obviously, again, I'm making it very simple right now for the purposes of this. It's much more nuanced. But we're able to pick up your book now and find so much value in it. So,
oh, thank you.
I think that, to me, is why, and the reason why I'm wording it this way is because I don't want people to look at it and be like, oh, well, it's about sexual abuse. I have nothing. I've never been a part of that. I don't know anybody that has, and then they churn away. No, people, this has so much value for, I don't care about the gender. I don't care about your background, your experience. This is going to be able to offer you wisdom wherever you are because it carries that. So again, head on over, purchase your copies. Make sure you check out the personal site, CaptainDawnOttman.com. Let's raise some awareness here. Captain Dawn, this has been a true pleasure. Keep up the fantastic work. And once again, thank you for being a guest on People of Distinction.
Thank you very much. It was nice to talk with you.